Hello Gills fans, welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV. It is Thursday, which means match preview day, weekly review day. Is slightly earlier than usual because I'm enjoying a week off from work, wasting money on the Cheltenham Festival, or investing it wisely, depending on what your take is on that particular sport. But yeah, so slightly earlier recording than normal. We have obviously a big match preview to get onto later on in the video, but first things first, there was a Kent Senior Trophy quarter-final tie played on Tuesday night, one that myself, Boz and Stocky were going to attend until the club tweeted and said that it was just going to be a youth team, so we thought probably wasn't worth the drive all the way down to Dover to watch the kids, no disrespect to them. And then lo and behold, 8 first team squad members start the game. Gills run out 5-1 winners though, which is the main thing. Goals from Regan Charles Cook, who got 2, John Akindi, Jordan Graham and young Toby Bancroft. That was the 5 goal scorers. We did trail after a few minutes, a defensive mix-up. But yeah, 5 quick-fire goals second period, I think in 32 minutes, saw us through to the semi-finals, where we will travel to Whitstable on a date to be confirmed. Is it coming home, finally, after what feels like a million years? But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so all in all, a good exercise it seems. Shame to have missed it in the end. Looks like a decent night out, 10 quid a ticket for 6 goals. You can't really moan about that. But yeah, it did give it a swerve on the premise that it was only going to be the kids playing. Obviously, I have to mention it. Coronavirus is the big word at the moment going around. There is talks of games being postponed, games being played behind closed doors. I believe there is a meeting today, this afternoon. The government are meeting to decide what they're going to do. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not really paying much attention to it at the moment. I'm of the attitude of have a beer and let it all blow over type thing. But it is serious, of course. But all jokes aside, but yeah, fingers crossed we'll get an answer at some point today, so we all know what's going on. We don't want to have to miss games. We don't want the games to be played behind closed doors because it won't feel like a proper game. But it's out of our hands, out of our control. But we push on as normal. So I'm going to do the match preview. But yeah, obviously our biggest game of the season, according to the manager, Steve Evans. That is the back page headline of Thursday's Medway Messenger. This is the biggest game of the season for me. This is bigger than West Ham in the FA Cup, said Steve Evans. We need the supporters with us. We need them here believing. We need to see them be loud and to make it an intimidating atmosphere for Fleetwood. Sportingly aggressive, no nonsense. He then goes on to say, put it simply, we need to win. I said we have to be within 6 points with 6 games to go. At the moment, we are 8. Win on Saturday and we should be 6. We have an opportunity on Saturday to keep the dream alive. There's been a rallying tweet gone out from the club as well today. And again, I've just jokingly quoted it and said, well, if we're all allowed, then of course we'll be there. But it's out of our hands, like I say. But it is a massive game. Fleetwood are absolutely flying. We'll look at them in more detail in a moment. But one player who did play last week, only 7 days after having his shoulder popped back in right in front of us in that home defeat at Wimbledon, was Max Ehmer. So we're going to do a little in focus on the skipper. ...250 club appearances now for our German-born centre-back, our German-born captain. Top player, top professional for me, top bloke as well, Max. Really deserving to reach a quarter of a century? No, 250 games. Stop trying to be clever. Yeah, and Steve Evans talks and says Max enjoying his best form for Gills inside today's paper. Gills boss Evans said, I've watched Max many times and been against him many times. This is his best season at this club. It's the best form he has been in. Totally agree. In terms of consistency, he's played pretty much every game. I think the only minutes he's missed in Sky Bet League One were the 20 minutes at the end of the Wimbledon game when he tried to carry on and the physio told him no because his shoulder had just come out and gone back in. Aside from that, he's been an ever-present. Defensively, he's looked so solid this campaign. Genuinely can't remember him having a bad game. I think when he first arrived, he benefited from playing alongside John Egan consistently, and generally he played well because he knew he was playing with. 2015-16, he had 2014-15, talking about that already, yeah. And he was part of a run of only 4 defeats in 21 games at the end of that season, which was from the gang of 4 taking over through to Justin Edinburgh coming in. And like I say, only 4 defeats in 21 games that season. We ended up staying up comfortably after battling relegation the first 2/3 of the campaign, and I think we finished 12th that year, and Max played a big part in that. We then signed him in the summer, didn't we? 2015, 3-year deal. And he had a lot of competition that year. I think John Egan and him, and then Deji Osalaja came in. I'm not sure if we signed others throughout the season. I think Adam Eleb come in January. Max found himself in and out of the side, but he still played 30 times, and we finished 9th. Should have been so much higher, we know that. We were top around January, still in the playoffs with 3 games to go, and 9th ended up being the lowest position we'd occupied all season, and that was a sad end. But generally, he was really good when he played, whether that was alongside Deji or alongside John Egan or as part of a back three, which I think we employed at times during that campaign. Then we had a couple of really barren years, didn't we? 16, 17, 17, 18 and 18, 19. We've been battling relegation. Inconsistencies in terms of form for individuals, Max included, and as a collective. But if we remember 16, 17, that was the year that we went to Northampton open and praying on the final day that we had to better Port Vale's result, and we just about did. We had to match it, didn't we? I think we ended up drawing, they drew. We stayed up on goal difference, I think it was. And there was a lot of talk about Max Ehmer that year, I think. But we have to remember he scored 7 goals during that season. And those 7 goals, which were all in the league, we only lost at Coventry. So half a dozen there probably had a big impact on us just about keeping our heads above water. And that was in a season where Max wasn't at his best. He admitted that when I spoke to him at the end of that season for the YouTube channel. He was one of the first people, I think, after Josh Wright that we interviewed. And he's a really nice bloke, really approachable, really family-oriented. And he spoke at the time, I remember distinctly, about how it's so much harder to, you know, keep heading the ball clear, keep making tackles when it keeps coming back to you because you can't make it stick up top and you're not playing well and confidence is low. But we're seeing a completely different Max Ehmer this season, aren't we? He's been, like I say, first class all the way through. He's coaxed young Jack Tucker alongside him through these games, ably supported by Conor Ogilvie one side and the ageless Barry Fuller on the other, who I'm sure he goes to for advice. Steve Evans says in here that they message pretty much every day, but only 1 goal so far. That was against MK Dons, but that was a vital one as well. I think we just conceded to be pegged back to 2-1, and then he went straight at the other end and basically got the clincher for us to win the game before Christmas. But defensively, and that's his job, absolutely spot on. Wins pretty much everything in the air, solid in the tackle, gets about the park quick enough, doesn't he? And he's got 2 good feet and he can play, which is nice. You want people that are confident enough to take the ball off the keeper, take the ball off a fullback if it comes inside, and be able to pick a pass or a clip in behind. And we're not saying he's, you know, Franco Baresi or Franz Beckenbauer or John Terry or Marcus Rojo, who was one that Max Ehmer somewhat surprisingly said he looked at and studied when I interviewed him 3 years ago. But he's a very, very good League One centre-back now. Really deserves to have reached 250 games, and let's hope that he can go and make many, many more. He is still only 28 years old, and fingers crossed we can keep him for a long time. But anyway, enough about one player. We now get on to one team. We do have a massive game coming up this Saturday, if we are allowed to play it or allowed to play it in front of supporters, etc., etc. And that is the COD Army coming to town. Joey Barton's Fleetwood arrive in ME7 this coming Saturday on the back of a 12-game unbeaten run, which has propelled them into the top 6. Suffice to say, you could say that it's a battle between 2 of the form sides in Sky Bet League One. If you look at that, like I say, they've gone a dozen games without getting beat. We've only lost once in 17 games in the league since the end of November. Our long unbeaten run was ended a couple of Saturdays ago, frustratingly, against Wimbledon. We know that, but we reacted well and went to the Stadium of Light last Saturday and picked up a really good draw. Fleetwood have been on the road a lot recently, and Tuesday night, Saturday. Their last 6 games, let's have a look. We'll do ours first. Last 6 in the league, 1-1-1, drawn, lost, drawn. So we're winless in 3 in the league, but before that it was a trio of wins. So we've taken 11 points from 18 available, which is still a phenomenal effort considering the size of our squad. Fleetwood themselves, 1-1, drawn, 3 wins, 3 draws, 12 points from 18 available. And if you look at that, they've played Portsmouth twice in that last 6-game period. They've played Posh, they've played Sunderland, they've played Ipswich. I think they've beaten and drawn with Portsmouth. They've beaten Ipswich. They've drawn with Sunderland. weirdly, probably the most frustrating result for their supporters was the 0-0 draw at home to Blackpool. The game that you'd probably expect them to win in that period was one of the ones where they dropped points. But no defeat in the league since Burton away on the 11th of January. So they're good on the road. They've taken, again, it's exactly the same. It's 3 draws and 3 wins from their last 6 away from Highbury. So 12 points from 18 on their travels. Gills at home in the last 6. Last game obviously was that horrible defeat at home to Wimbledon, but before that it was 3 wins and 2 draws. So we have 11 from 18. So there's not a lot in it at all. Reverse fixture back in December was 1-0. Alex Jakubiak cancelled out their goal to earn us a point. If I remember, it was blowing an absolute gale that day. Well, when does it not blow a gale at Fleetwood? It's always windy up there, and it always seems to be freezing cold apparently. So it's not a ground that I've been to yet, and it's not a weather forecast that fills me with much motivation to go up there, but I'm sure I'll get round to it at some point. Maybe if we get them in the first couple of weeks of the season, I'll go up there, but it always seems to be in the middle of winter. But Joey Barton, weather forecasting aside, has done a fantastic job there. It was his first managerial role, and I think Steve Evans has spoke very highly of him in this week's Medway Messenger and says that he's doing a good job. Some people wanted him to fail, but he's used his contacts really well, because they're not a big club. They don't have a huge budget, but what they do have, they use it well. And if you look at the people that they brought off the bench on Tuesday night at Portsmouth, drawing 2-2, Paul Coots, Paddy Madden, Wes Burns, shows the depth in their squad. The likes of Harry Suter, Josh Morris, Glenn Whelan, Ched Evans have all started. They've got plenty of quality elsewhere. It's going to be a really tough battle. They'll be well organised, well drilled. They'll be in your face, I'd imagine, pretty much like Joey Barton, the footballer. But we've stood up to most teams this season. I don't think there's been many games where we've come away thinking, oh, we didn't compete. Probably, like I've said plenty of times, Oxford away and Rotherham at home are the 2 that stand out. But aside from that, we've been in pretty much every football match. Looking at the last 5 years since we've met in League One, last season we won 3-0. Season before that we won 2-1. 2016-17 when we were horrific, we lost 3-2. It was our last home game of the season. Before that wonderful day at Northampton the weekend after. 2015-16 we slapped them 5-1. And 14-15 was one of them 4 defeats in 21 games that I've already mentioned about. They beat us 1-0. So there's only two times in the last 5 years where one of the teams has failed to score. So it should make for an entertaining fixture. Both teams know that 3 points are of paramount importance for us to stay within touch of the top 6, for Fleetwood to keep themselves in the top 6. In terms of team news for us, Mark Burns out, we know that. Barry Fuller, I'm not sure what's going on with him. I've not seen the press conference just because of an earlier recording. Took a whack to the knee and was hobbling around for the last 10 minutes at Sunderland, but we know what Barry's like. He'll be doing all he can to get himself on the park. So if he's fit, my team would be Jack Bonham, Barry Fuller, Max Ehmer, Jack Tucker and Connor Ogilvie as a back 5. We know that it doesn't change. They've been superb on the whole. I would have Alfie Jones at the base of a diamond. I would go back to that this week. I want us to be positive, but I don't want us to be too open, and Fleetwood have players that can really hurt us if we are too open. So I'd go Alfie Jones from the base of a diamond, Stuart O'Keefe from the right of a diamond to give us some solidity, Ben Pringle from the left of a diamond. I think Regan Charles Cook deserves to start, so I'd have him from the 10 behind Mika Mandron and Brandon Hanlon. So it's a couple of changes I think from last week. I've dropped out Jordan Graham and I've dropped out Jordan Roberts. Yeah, and I've brought in Ben Pringle and I've brought in Regan Charles Cook. For me, it gives us flexibility. If the diamond's not working, we can always go as a flat 4-3-3. Can have Alfie Jones, Stuart O'Keefe and Ben Pringle as a middle 3 and play Regan from the left and Brandon from the right with Mika Mandron through the middle. Gives us great options on the bench, doesn't it? The likes of John Akindi, Jordan Graham, Jordan Roberts can all come on and turn a game. And and Ollie Lee as well. And if we need to solidify things in the middle of the park, we've got Matt Willock who can come on. Got Tom O'Connor who's very defensive minded. So small squad, but still plenty of options as long as they all stay fit. Big question before I let you all go. Score prediction. No, it's going to be tough, but Fleetwood know it's going to be tough coming to our place. Generally, we've made it hard for teams to play through us this season, especially at home, but we've lost more at home than we have away, but obviously we've won more at home than we have away as well. So it should make for a good game. 2 teams desperately trying to get where they want to be. I'm going to go for a final score of Gillingham 2, Fleetwood 1. I'm going to back us to end the unbeaten run. I think they've done a lot of travelling, a lot of long nights, a lot of miles. I follow Ben Nappers on Twitter, and he always talks about how far he's travelled and what time they're getting in, and obviously that's going to be similar for the players. So I'm hoping that fatigue does play a part. We've had the benefit of a week off. They've had to go to Portsmouth on Tuesday night, which is a long old trek for them from up north. So for that reason, 2-1 Gills. My goal scorers are Mika Mandron and Regan Charles Cook. Right, I shall let you all go. I shall be there Saturday, hopefully, for Match Day Live with a Boz and hopefully Stocky as well. Obviously, this is all waiting on this government announcement that might be coming this afternoon, Thursday afternoon. But we carry on regardless. As always, thanks for watching. You know where we are: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. Hopefully we'll see you Saturday. If not, it's going to be a weird old day. But we'll wait and see what happens. And until next time, up the Gills.